And now, you're listening to the What Why Now podcast with DJ Scottos. DJ Scottos presents What Why Now podcast.
Welcome to the DJ Scottos What Why Now podcast, where we invite special guests onto my show to ask them questions about their life and success stories. For this episode, I've invited another special guest, where we're finding out what it was like growing up in Brighton, escaping death in a very bad car accident, how boiling water melted her fake boobs, including dealing with the national press, the impact of brain surgery, losing 10 stone in weight in over a year, how she became an adult content creator, including dealing with trolls, plans for the future, plus much more. I am really excited to introduce our very special guest today. Let's make some virtual noise for Nadine Stratton.
Hi, guys.
Right,
Hi.
Nadine, thank you. Firstly, thank you so much for joining my podcast.
It's fine.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, getting there.
Good. So
How
obviously,
about you?
yeah, I'm good, thank you. And do you know what? We record this on a Friday. So for people to get to know you, what is a normal Friday like for you? I mean, it might change every week, but on a Friday during the morning, daytime, what's kind of your normal day-to-day stuff on a Friday?
Recently I've got more into my TikTok, like getting ready with me. I've recently been taken on by an agency by Jack, he's known as Jim Skin on TikTok. So I've started doing that because that helps me progress in my other socials, as in regards to like my OnlyFans and things like that. But yeah, I usually go on live, do a get ready with me, and then usually when I'm ready, I'll then come off and shoot custom content that I might have been requested, or I'll just shoot content to upload to one of my socials anyway.
Oh, and by the way, just so how I got to know Nadine, I think she said it get to know or get ready with Nadine. It literally is that, and going on and, what's great, I think, about your lives that you do, and your numbers are amazing, by the way. The questions that you get asked and the things that you help with people with just vary, doesn't it? So, you're very, very welcoming. You make everyone feel very comfortable, and we'll get onto the trolls situation a bit later. But obviously, it's not always perfect days. There's days where people can be.
It's
very
every
nasty.
day.
Yeah.
Trolling's daily.
So before we get into that kind of sort of stuff and really get to know you a bit more, I do always like to start with a bit of like icebreaker stuff, just to kind of more of a bit of a fun element part of it. So I kind of call these the icebreaker questions. So if there was a movie made of your life, what would it be called, and who would you want them to play you?
Oh my Lord. A shit show. I can't. I honestly couldn't tell you what it would be like, because it's just been mayhem. Like, regards to like with growing up, my mum was a foster carer, so there was loads of carnage at home, like continuously. It was just like a never chilled environment. It was always like problem children that lived with us. And then obviously, like, the older I've got, the more's happened. I honestly don't think there's anyone in particular that I could like think of that I would want to play me.
Yeah, probably play yourself. I might end up probably better to play yourself, but I'm asking to play about your story now. It sounds like your story is just starting. Or well, we're going to get into your story because it is, quite an eventful one, but there's more to come in. So yeah, I guess maybe it's to be seen, but to be confirmed. But definitely, I think after people listening to this podcast, I'll be very surprised if there isn't a film made or something made about this. And that's not being I think it's just because it's just been crazy. If you did have your own podcast, though, out of interest, and I hope I'll be on it, what would your podcast be about? And who would you want on your podcast?
See, I love the likes of people like Izzy Oakley. I don't know if you've seen her on there, with Grace as well. So I don't like drama. Like, social drama is just not my thing. It
Yeah.
really isn't. Like, I'm 34, I'm so past it, and that's why I really struggle. I don't struggle with the trolls. It's just so tiresome. Like, I'm past like the school playground kind of things.
Yeah.
But it would, yeah, it's just about, like, if I was to do one, it would probably be about people's life stories, because everyone's is different.
Yeah.
Like, trying to stick with TikTok dramas and stuff, it changes all the time. I get that that's why people do them, but personally, it would probably just be people's life stories that, you know, I've come through things, and because obviously I've done it myself, so I'd like to hear other people's like success stories as well.
If you had to get away and you were told you could only take one item with you, it can't be your phone, it can't be any family members, etc., or pets, what item would you need to take with you?
My toothbrush. What do you mean? Like, I'm on a desert island.
Yeah, do you know what? An item that you just can't live without. By the way, I think toothbrush is quite a good one, because obviously, like, you do. Yeah, I'm just interested because, like, you know, your phone is kind of like, probably is like, you have a relationship with your phone. It's kind of something that's with you all the time. But if you take that away, I know you've got a lovely cat that sometimes, by the way, might want to get involved with the podcast a bit later on. If you take those out of it, family, what would be that next sort of special item that what you need to take with you?
Honestly, there's nothing. I can live without stuff. Like, the things that I can't live without is literally the things that you've mentioned. Obviously, I can live without my phone. There'd be no problem with that. But do you know what? If it would probably be a disposable camera, like some form of a way to be able to capture memories still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, in regards to toothbrush, hairbrush, like all your basic essentials, I get that. But being with those people, you want to be able to capture those memories. So being able to do something like that would probably be something. I don't have anything in particular, like a specific belonging, like a teddy that I've kept from when I was a kid or something like that. No, so it'd probably be something where I could still be able to capture memories, but still be present.
No, good answer. So, if you wasn't doing what you were doing now, and you could pick sort of any sort of job or career, what would be your ideal job?
So I've worked in care for, like, obviously my mum has been a foster carer since I was about 8 months old. So care has been in like my life like forever. Before I even started doing what I was doing, I was actually a manager of a dementia home, a care home for people. There's 30 dementia residents that we cared for. So I'd probably still be doing that.
Yeah. Well, what would be by the way, that's amazing, by the way, because I think there's a lot more we could be doing for something like dementia and other illnesses and support like mental health. Is there a dream job that if you could sort of like pick it right now, not doing those two things, would there be anything else that you'd love to do?
I'd love to have been a vet, like, but I'm not mentally stable enough to cope with it. Like, I struggled massively working in care, because obviously the care that I was working in was elderly, so I was losing people quite regularly. I like helping people. Like, that is one of my things. Is I love being able to help people, but when it comes to animals, since I've had my girls, my 2 cats, my love for animals is through the roof. I can't watch a sad video like and not be sobbing my heart out, like that animal's mine. So I'd love to be a vet, but I physically wouldn't be able to cope with it mentally.
Do you know, I love it when you call your cats girls. My girls.
They're my girls. They're my children.
I love that. And by the way, I can relate to that a bit more. Have had pets and stuff, they do become. I know some people go, "Oh, why do you get so upset about your cat?" Like it's different when you really, really have one that like yours, that likes to spend time with you during the day when you're doing your lives. Last couple of icebreaker questions. What would be like a day of like when you're not working? What's the kind of sort of day that you look forward to when you can just sort of like be off doing what you do? What's
be
the kind
me?
Be you. What do you enjoy doing outside of what you do?
Spending time with my family. Like, I'm such a home girl in that respect. Like, my mum's come back off holiday today. She's been in America seeing my auntie for 2 weeks, and I'm such a mummy's girl. Like, I can't tell you how much like she is genuinely my best friend.
Oh.
Like, I ring her. I probably speak to my mum, lives about 2 minutes away from me, and I see her a hell of a lot. Like, we ring continuously. Like, if I'm on holiday, if she's on holiday, we will still continue to be on the phone. I don't have a relationship with my dad. So my mum has been like my primary person since day one.
Kind of like a mum and dad sort of thing.
Yeah. So she's, oh my God, she's been absolutely everything.
Oh.
And obviously with my other important people in my life, so like my other family or my significant other, or, you know, that's my primary one. The top one is spending it with my family or my friends if I've got the time.
Right. Last question then. If I could give you a special power that you could change or do or make happen, what would you want to use with that special power?
Is not allow for people to suffer.
That's a great answer. You know what? That's a really good answer, by the way.
And honestly, in every concept of money, health, taking that away from people would be, I'd love that.
Do you know what? I think that's a really good answer. And I'm going to ask one more extra question, which I think I know the answer to. What would you rather have, more time or more money?
Oh, more time.
Good.
100% more time, because you can't get time back.
Yeah,
you can always get more money.
Great answer. And by the way, that's the end of the icebreaker grilling. Thank you very much for being honest. I know there were a bit sort of some silly ones, but there's some good ones there just for people to get to know you a bit better. So, right, we're going to get into the questions. So, I understand that you're from Brighton. What was it like growing up there?
Honestly, I love Brighton. Like, hands down, it's the best place to grow up. You have everything here. Like, you literally have the beach, you have the downs, you have like the little lanes. There's so many things to do here. Like, you can't ever be bored. And to go from, I moved away from Brighton later on down the line to a little village in the middle of nowhere. And the difference to go from like a mad populated area like Brighton to a tiny little village, it was madness. Like, it was genuine sheer madness, but it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. And I definitely was probably the last generation of where kids were out in the street playing. So I had the best childhood ever.
Brilliant. So just describe yourself though as a child. What were you like?
I was so advanced, as in for my age, because where my mum was a foster carer, all the kids that she fostered she started off that it was like supported living for people from like the age of, I think it was like 16 to 18, I think. So I was mature for my age, 100%. But I was so caring, but I was very vulnerable. I was so severely bullied when I was in school, because I wouldn't say boo to a goose. Like, I honestly was just this really timid, quiet person. And that soon changed. But I was just this quiet, mature little girl, basically.
Yeah. And you mentioned the fostering, which is again a really lovely thing. How did that impact you though? Because like you've got like these are strangers coming into your house. Sometimes they'll come and go. You build a bit of relationship. They kind of become like a little adopted like brother or sister at times, and you start building relationships up. But does that also, two questions? One, what was that like? But two, how did you feel though sometimes where you see your mum being pulled in different directions and sort of, did that feel like you kind of like your mum, like, you know, you talked about your mum earlier about being an amazing woman, but at the time though, did you feel a little bit like left out at times because she had to sort of look after so many people? I don't know how many there were. Maybe explain more detail.
So because I was I'm the baby of the family, so I had my mum to myself, and obviously I didn't have my dad around. We had like, my mum was looking after more elder kids when I was younger, but as I kind of grew up, my mum's age kind of dropped with the foster kids. So she then started taking people on that were like no younger than 13. And I'd want her whole attention. And obviously these kids would need my mum's attention, and then would end up getting a really good bond with some of the kids that we took on. But I loved it in one respect because we loved helping people. But the hardest thing was watching people take the piss out of my mum.
Yeah.
So my mum bending over backwards and giving her house to these children and supporting them financially and so on and so forth. My mum has had her house broken into twice. And when I say broken into, I mean booted through the door, robbed her safe, her jewellery, her money. Like, it's been horrific. And it's so difficult to know that we've done all that we can as a family to take these kids in, and then them to do things like that to us. Honestly, it infuriates me.
So was it because of them? Was it because of them that you got robbed? Was it something they did, or was it?
It was the kids. It was the kids that live with us.
Oh, bloody hell! Oh,
so
God.
One of them, basically, when he first moved in, this was honestly years ago, and my mum had an old wooden style front door. And the first day that he come and met us, he was like, "This house is so easy to break into." And I was like, "Oh yeah, go on, show me." And he closed the door, and he literally got a long bit of like wood and put it through the letterbox and literally knocked the inside of the handle, which was the lock, and it opened. And we was like, "Oh, okay, that's a bit like scary. That's not normal." Anyway, everything still seemed fine with the kid. Like, our relationship grew with him. Everything seemed fine. Next thing you know, my mum comes home, because in my mum's house, me and my mum had an adjoining room. So you'd have to walk through my room to get to her room. So because we previously foster kids had robbed from us, so we always locked my bedroom door to get to her room. My mum had come in, basically found this bit of wood on the kitchen side, and none of the foster kids had a house key because of like not being able to trust them. And my mum walked upstairs, and my bedroom door had been booted through. Like, someone had literally stood there and just booted the shit out of it, because it was like a Chubb style lock, so it completely ripped the door frame off. They'd gone in, robbed my mum's safe, which had our passports, flight, because we was going on holiday a week later.
Oh, no.
Our flight tickets, our money for that, my mum's jewelry, and then that was it. He was gone, and he never returned. He still to this day claims that he never robbed our house. But I know dodgy people in the area who do dodgy things, and they reached out to me about a month later and was like, "Oh, I think I've got something that belongs to you." And I was like, "What's that?" And they said, "We've had someone come round and try and get something from me." But I asked because they was like, "We haven't got any money, but we have this." And obviously the person that I knew was like, "What is it?" And they said, "It's jewelry." And he asked where the jewelry come from, and they said, "Oh, this kid's foster parents." And he knew that my mum fostered, and he knew that my house had been robbed. So he took the fucking jewelry off the kid and was like, "You can do one." And the bloke brought the jewelry back round. So he knew that he had done it. But because this kid had lived with us, all his fingerprints were everywhere. He never come back, but he still claims to the day that he never stole it.
So how long was he like with you for before that happened?
Coming up to a year.
So that just like I find it so mad that these people like that would sorry, these people, that's the wrong word, but you know, they come into your house, you know, you've given them an opportunity, like basically where whatever's gone wrong in their past, and then that's, for me, I feel like that's kind of the lowest of the lowest, that you've kind of let
that's what's hard.
Yeah. And how many years were you involved in like fostering and being at home with your mum? How many years did that go on for?
So when I hit about 19, I got basically taken on as a respite foster carer through the same agency for my mum. So because I didn't want to, like, if my mum wanted to go on holiday, I didn't want to disturb the kids' life and rip them up and then put them to another foster placement while my mum went away. So I got trained to step up as a respite carer. So then when my mum goes away, they can stay, and I then become the main carer for them. So I got into it heavily as soon as I was around 18, 19, because my mum didn't just foster one kid, she fostered two. So most of the time, the kids would end up become good friends and end up doing stupid things together. So my mum would be in one court place and I'd be in the other. So I'd be up there picking one of the foster kids up from like the prison or mum. So I got heavily involved around when I was 18, 19.
I'm surprised that it did put you off a little bit. Bear in mind that you experienced over those times that the ups and downs. But don't get me wrong, I know we're talking about the downs, but obviously there are a lot of ups where people have.
Oh, do you know what? We've still got some foster kids that are still really involved with us. There's one person in particular that I've got to say her name, Tonya. She's out of all the foster kids that we've had, she's hands down been the most persistent in my mum's life. She's just, do you know what? My mum, like, she loves kids, but she's never wanted young kids. And Tonya fell pregnant with while she was actually living at our house. And we was thinking, oh, Tonya's gonna have to move on when she's had her baby, because my mum didn't want to have a kid around the house.
Yeah.
But my mum actually said, look, Tonya, you can stay on, but because she needed to go into like a supported housing kind of situation, someone to be monitoring her to see how she was going to be as a mother. They just didn't want to cross those boundaries, so we weren't able to keep Tonya. But we still see her all the time. My mum's in contact with her regularly. She's doing really well for herself. I'm really proud. But there's so many success stories, but we've had some like tragic ones. We lost one. I was 11 and he lost his life to heroin and he was 17.
Wow.
That was probably one of the worst situations that we had ever suffered as a family while fostering.
Wow. That's
my mum was with someone called Chris, and he actually lived next door at the time. And my foster brother was called Chris as well. So we had Big Chris, my mum's boyfriend, and Little Chris was my foster brother. He was 17 and I was only 11, and he had a horrific upbringing as a child. And he had 3 sisters. One of them done really well for herself, and the other 2 suffered with drugs, addictions, prostitution, so on and so forth. I'm obviously not going to go into too much detail, but cut a long story short, one of the sisters got extremely jealous and forced him to basically take heroin one night. She said that she was going to do it in his sleep if he didn't. He done it. He ended up running back to my mum off his face. She laid there, spent the whole night with him awake to make sure he was okay. A few months down the line, he went back and saw his sister again, which he shouldn't have, but we couldn't stop him. And my mum woke up to a phone call in the morning, basically just saying that he was dead by his sister. We didn't know what had happened, but they assumed it was in the press. Actually, I forgot even to mention that to you, Scott. It was teenager died of drinking, because that's how it looked. He was found covered in his own vomit. Obviously he was in the morgue, investigations happened, track marks started coming up. She had previously injected other kids in foster homes previously. She was arrested, but she was let off. There wasn't enough evidence, but she fucking killed him and got away with it.
It's terrible. Well, you know what? I've got to say before we move on to the next question, big shout out to your mum, by the way, for doing what she's doing. Because basically not everyone can do that or want to do it. And
she's no longer doing it. My mum's 72 now. She smashed it. She gave everything she's got, but it got too much for her. It was not surprised.
These become like your adopted kids, don't they? They are.
They do, like, yeah. Some of them do.
Yeah, and I know, like, so by the way, big shout out to, and also to you for also supporting your mum at times and becoming someone that can support when back then. So did you ever have any other brothers or sisters?
Yes.
What were they like in regards to growing up?
So I have an elder sister. She's the oldest of the family. Her name's Nikki. She's like my mum had Nikki, I think when she was about 19, and my mum had me when she was 36, 37. So there's a massive age gap between me and my sister Nikki. So she was long gone before I was even born. So I never lived with Nikki. And then I've got my next brother, John. Again, he was only a few years after Nikki, so he was out of the house. My only sibling that I remember living with and spending most time with was my brother Richard. He's about 6 years older than me, maybe, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, Richard was the only permanent man that's been in my life that's been, do you know what I mean, there since day one that I can remember. But I live directly opposite my sister now. So we're literally in the same little cul-de-sac.
Mad,
so
isn't it? You've got your mum and your sister like literally living like
I'm literally over the road from my sister, and our mum is like 3 minutes in a car down the road.
That's so good. So was there like a favourite childhood memory? I know you talked about being being around your foster brothers and sisters, and have you got like a favourite childhood memory?
Do you know what? There's not one. My mum has taken me on so many amazing holidays, like in regards to memories. But it's the little. It sounds really silly. One of my favourite things that my mum used to do for me was every night I'd have a bath. She'd tumble dry my pajamas for me. So I'd get out of the bath and I'd have really nice warm jammies. I love warm
pajamas. Yeah.
But that's like, there's not like, obviously I couldn't pin one particular childhood memory, but 100% like little things like that. Like I love having my back tickled, little things like that. There's nothing, obviously like going to Florida, Jamaica, like Mexico, the most amazing holidays possible. But it's like, for me, it's those moments of a memory with people, like warm pajamas, having cuddles and attention. Like that's more important to me memory wise than any holiday.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. And I feel like, there are those little things like get out of the bath when you're freezing cold, and I like to be warmer. I'm exactly the same. So we've definitely got that in common. How would your mum describe what you do for a living? Out of interest.
Do you know what? She's my biggest fan. Like I'm so lucky. She's so obviously well before I started doing what I'd done. So when I was a lot younger, I did work in the kind of glamour side of, like I was doing like lad mags and car showrooms and car shows, sorry, not showrooms, car shows, things like that. But I wasn't doing it as heavily as what I am now.
Yeah.
And she was okay with it. Obviously, I was a lot younger back then. I was about 18, 19. And she was like, you can do more in life than just do that. And obviously, I stopped doing it. And then that's when I went into care and I built my way up to management in care. But the reason why I've gone into what I've gone into now is because of my health. So being able to do what I do for myself. So with my brain condition, obviously, it was difficult for me to hold down a contracted hour job.
Yeah.
So that's what was tough for me. Yeah. She's on it. She's so supportive of what I do because she knows it's the only thing I can do at the moment.
What made you get what was the sort of like the first thing that thought, I think I could do this, glamour modeling? How did you get into it? And what did you enjoy most about it?
It was Katie Price for me. Back in the day, I was so like impressed by someone that was so self-made. Do you know what I mean? I think it was looking at someone and thinking she's made a fucking proper living of being herself. Like that's what I really admired about her. Like, obviously she's not made the right decisions, but who makes 100% the right decisions through life? They don't. Everyone makes mistakes. But the fact that it was seeing Katie Price go from like her Jordan stage, and even I look at her now and I think she's still amazing. She's still relevant in what she does. Do you know what I mean? People there's so many glamorous people that have come and gone, and even still to this day, when I was 19 looking at her then, she still was relevant as what she was back then.
Yeah.
So I know obviously I love glamming myself up and things like that. So I was I thought I'd done well in regards with doing photos and stuff, but I was approached because I never done like a full-on glamour as in topless at the time. And I'd been approached by Page 3 about doing a trial shoot with them, and because I'd never done a topless shoot before, it was always implied, so I was always kind of holding and covered. And I was working alongside a photographer who we built each other's portfolios up, so we never paid each other, but we got the content from each other. And then I was like, right, I've been approached by Page 3. I want to know, I need to do this to see what's worth it. And I remember I'd done the shoot, and I'm telling you, I went home and sobbed because I looked like a 12-year-old boy.
Right. I
was like, no, I can't. There's absolutely, because obviously I was able to hold them and push them and give myself something to look at. And then I was like, no, I can't do it. I need to get something sorted. If I want to progress in doing glamour, I need to have something there to actually glamify.
Is that what you refer to being like a 12-year-old boy? Because
I had no boobs.
Oh right, I see. Sorry, okay. So
I literally had no boobs, like in the slightest. I had a nipple, if that. I know it's hard to believe now.
No, it just made me laugh the way you referred to it. It was just.
It was. I looked like, honestly, I was so like flat chested, and to go in and trying to contend with girls in Page 3 out of all bloody places, I was like, no, not happening. And that's when I looked into getting my boobs done. And then I ended up going through the surgery, and I always used to say to myself, like, if your stomach sticks out further than your boobs, that's when you know you have a problem with your weight. Obviously, when you've got massive tits, you don't see your stomach creeping up till it's too late. And then I started working in a bar with my best friend, and I was drinking every night. So my weight started kind of creeping up then. So then I wasn't comfortable enough to start getting into the glamour again. And so that kind of fizzled out in regards to working wise for glamour. But and then it we're going
to come on to the start of the madness.
So I was working as a care coordinator when like all the bad luck kind of started. It was like like being a care coordinator in domiciliary care is quite a stressful thing anyway. But like I kind of started getting a bit of depression like leading up to that. And then I was obviously still fine holding down my job, but then the bad luck started was the night with the hot water bottle.
That was But before you just do that, with regards to the depression, when you say depression, because I know that's quite a big word, right? What was the cause of that? Working in care and having to deal with a lot of stuff, but what do you think caused that? If you don't mind me asking.
I couldn't tell you, and I think that's what the hardest thing was. Is when you hear most people talk about depression, their money worries, their health, or that there's something really triggering for them for this depression to start. And the hardest thing for me was I didn't really have much to be depressed about. There was nothing in particular. Everything was kind of going okay, and that's what was really difficult for me, because I was like, wait a minute, I have a house, I have a job, I have a life, I have everything to not be depressed about. It was definitely an imbalance. There was nothing for me to put my finger on to say that was what started it. But from that point on, everything kind of spiraled.
So they obviously stopped doing the glamour side of stuff and started working in the bar. When did you make the decision to get your boobs done, and where did you get it done? Because obviously people go to Turkey based like that now. What did you do, and where did you go to get that done?
So I basically looked it up. I done all my research, and I went through a company in London called Transform. I actually had the same surgeon, Gemma Atkinson.
Okay, yeah.
So I had the same surgeon as her. I ended up having them done. My best friend who I worked at the bar with, Sunita, she ended up getting her boobs done by them, and then so did my mum. So there was like all three of us just bombarded together and all got our boobs done together. But yeah, so that was, I just got them done because it just completely knocked my self-confidence, even taking away from the glamour side. I just realised what I looked like. Obviously, I felt comfortable when I was in relationships or if I was intimate with people. But when I really looked back at pictures and thought, shit, that's what I actually look like naked, it was a decision for me as a person, not just for the glamour work anymore.
Yeah, and obviously, again, I'm sorry, I obviously don't know much about how this works, but so people that that are listening to this and are thinking about getting their bid on because obviously they're having a bit, maybe their confidence isn't very good, or they want to get just what kind of decision process do you have to go through, like to really kind of go, do you know what? I'm going to do this because like people can easily rush and maybe make the wrong decision. Like,
Yeah.
any advice like you give from that point of view?
100%. Research is like so key. Obviously, back when I had mine was like 13 years ago that I had mine done. So like going abroad and getting them done cheap wasn't the way forward. I actually paid for mine on finance. I paid like £3,000 extra just to because of free finance and paying the additional because it was over a period of time. But there's so many things that I regret doing that I wish I listened to. So like when you first have your boobs done, you're meant to wear like this special bra and keep them and not go braless or wear underwired. And straight away I was not wearing my protective bra. I was wearing underwires. I was going braless and like controlling your weight. So even though you have fake boobs, if your weight fluctuates, that's gonna fuck with your boobs. So you stretch them out further, then you lose the weight, so then you lose the volume in them. There's so many things that can go wrong if you don't follow. Like the next thing I am getting done, I'm getting my boobs redone because they're so past where they should be now. As in, it's been, they say every 10 years you should get them redone. But obviously with my massive weight loss and stuff, I want to get them redone again.
And we're going to come on to that because that's absolutely a really good story to that, and really, really should be really proud of that. But so obviously you have that done. You start to go into the working in care, which again is amazing. And then you talked a bit about the depression side of stuff. Obviously, how long were you working in care for? That's working sort of social care, sort of supporting people.
So, God, I was on and off. Well, I'd say on and off. I worked in care for about 9 years.
Wow.
That's not including like the length of my mum either. So obviously so from when I was 19, from when I was with my mum, and I'm 34 now. But for when I was concentrating on my own journey, as in growing not from fostering, but from actually domiciliary care aside or residential home, about 9 years.
Wow, that's amazing. And obviously you talked a bit about the depression and the sort of the impact that started to have, which is why you left working there. And then tell us a bit about what happened next, because this is where, for me, when having a brief conversation with you about your life story, I was just like, as you know, my mouth was like wide open. So yeah, basically, it's a quite a coldish night, or you're not feeling great. You got home.
Basically, I got home from work, and the person that I was with at the time didn't feel great. And I loved a hot water bottle. Like that was just my kind of comfort if I didn't feel great. So I was like, I'll make you a hot water bottle. And he was like, no, I don't want one. I was like, no, seriously, like, let me just make you a hot water bottle. It's fine. He didn't want one, but me being me, I pushed on. Anyway, in the kitchen, flicked the kettle on, boiling water, got the hot water bottle, filled it up, and I kind of pushed it against my chest to let the hot air out before I sealed it. But I misjudged how much water was in it. And before I knew it, I pushed it too tight. So then the whole boiling water just flooded onto my chest. Wow. I kind of threw the hot water bottle into the sink, and I was like screaming. And I was wearing a dress and a bra, and I ripped my dress off in my kitchen. And I ripped my bra off, which was the completely wrong thing to do because it would melted onto my skin.
Right.
So he'd come running downstairs. He'd never known him move so fast. And he kind of grabbed me and dragged me into the bathroom upstairs and threw me into the shower and like put the shower on me. And we ended up obviously calling 999, and they were speaking to us. And because obviously the burn in the end was a lot bigger than the size of the palm of my hand, so they was like, right, first of all, this is another thing. I thought it was always cold water that you meant to put on a burn. It's not.
Yeah, no,
It's meant to be lukewarm water. So
yeah.
they was like, no, stop. Like, you're going to put her into shock. So put lukewarm water on it. And basically, it would have been quicker for us to have gone to the hospital before an ambulance would have got to us. So I got wrapped up in cling film, which was the advice by the 999 team, rushed to the hospital, and I was just left underwater basically on my chest for a while. And then I was referred to the burns unit, and I had to go.
For those watching on video right now, here is a few snippets from the press, by the way, for you to sort of get a bit of an idea of what Nadine experienced.
So yeah, I was seen by the burns unit where they was continuously redressing my burns. And obviously, like, since I had my boobs done, I've always been a low top kind of person. And then all of a sudden, I just had this horrific burn across my chest. And it was so destroying for my confidence. I felt more stupid than anything, because obviously it was me that had caused the accident. But then obviously it went into the press with everything, and then I went into magazines. I was approached by a magazine about it as well.
How do you handle that bit of it? Because you're in a situation where you just saying you were really low. You felt a bit stupid about what you did, but also your body's like, everything's just gone crazy within such a point. And also you're still not in a great place anyway, like you're saying. You're having this sort of depression as well. Like having it all like cocktail together. Like, how did you deal with that? Because this is now national news. This is people now who may be local to you are starting to read this stuff. People that don't know you suddenly reading this. Like, how do you handle all of that?
What was really tough was, like, in one way, I was kind of hoping that it was going to be more of awareness of people being careful with hot water bottles. I was trying my hardest to not think of it as people just look at me and be like, fucking, what a stupid idiot, using boiling hot water and so on and so forth. But the thing that got to me was, because when obviously with the newspapers, I was like, yeah, okay, we can post, it's fine. But then with the magazine, I obviously told my side of the story, and then obviously they change it to what they want. It's the comments that was attached to the press, and it was just straight away beelining for my appearance. It was just straight away, bimbo, she was stupid, who puts boiling hot water in a hot water bottle. It was just straight annihilating me about how stupid that I was and how I looked. It wasn't like, oh my God, like she's actually had an accident, that must be horrific. It was, oh, because she's a glamour model, or she's been a glamour model, or because she's blonde, or because of XYZ. It was just straight away classing me as what they wanted to class me. So that was really tough. And I punished myself a lot, and I know I shouldn't have, but I was reading them all the time. Like, if I noticed that there was another comment that was added, I'd read it. I know it would hurt. And I just tortured myself, and I shouldn't have, but it was the first time that I'd been in the press previously for the bust of Britain. Like, that was well before the accidents, like with the searching for the most attractive person in Sussex, and the bust of Britain award in the Sun.
The What, Why Now podcast.
That was all before the bad luck, and everything kind of press-wise was positive. But then from the accident point, everything press-wise just went a bit south.
Yeah, well, God. I know you say, a lot of times I hear from people, like even on the podcast and stuff, where this is where people have to start to believe this even more, that what you read in the paper isn't always true. What you went through doesn't deserve people to make fun of it or twist it in a way.
Just assuming because I'm blonde that I'm thick, that's the way that it was made to come across, basically.
Terrible. So that happens, and then not long after,
A
after
month
that?
later. So
Yeah.
a month later, I was on my way to get my nails done with one of my friends that I worked with. It was generally a month later, so I was still kind of healing with my burn. And we were driving along, and we like, hands up, we were going a bit fast because we was on our way to our nail appointment. We were running a bit late, and I stupidly, jokingly rang the person that I was with, and I was like, I'm just ringing to say goodbye because she's driving like a bit of an idiot, like as a joke.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we crashed.
And by the way, these are some of the some photos of the crash, and this is just like a hit a car, like you can, as you can see on the screen here. This is a crash of a crash, right? So it was just to come out for me. Look at that picture there. Anyone who watches on the video, you'll be saying to yourself, "How the hell are you doing a podcast now?" So you explain what happened when you had the crash,
So basically, we was going through some country lanes, and there was just overcompensated a corner, and then we ended up on the other side of the road. So panic kicked in. So then we ended up she tried to readjust, which then took us into that little ditch. But as obviously I was on the phone to someone, and where I said that we were, because we were on our way, I said, oh, by the way, I'm here, and she's driving a bit silly. So the minute he's hit, like, heard the car, like us scream, and then just this massive crash noise, he just got in his car and drove to us. But we were so lucky because where we had crashed and we had gone into a ditch, no word of a lie, about a step further was people's houses. So if there wasn't that ditch, we would have gone straight through someone's front room or kitchen. So we're kind of lucky the ditch was there, really, than anything else.
Yeah. So you've now crashed, right? Obviously, yeah. You've joked about the fact that she's driving fast. You now
Yeah.
hit the crash. Do you remember much about that after the crash happened? Were you still kind of
Yeah,
with
like
it?
the thing is, like it was a complete accident. Like I still know the girl, I still get along with her. I don't blame her for what happened. Like it was genuinely an accident. I didn't claim it was nothing like that. There would be no hate towards it at all. It was an accident. It was what it was. Bless her. Obviously, she had only recently kind of passed her test as well, and it was just panic mode for her. And because obviously the shit I've gone through before, I wanted to make sure that she was okay. I was obviously in pain and uncomfortable, but obviously the ambulance were called. And again, but because where we lived in this little tiny bloody village, by the time an ambulance would have got to us, we would have got there by a car. So I went by a car, and by the time I got to the hospital, they knew that I had been in a crash. So that's when they had strapped me down into a bloody spinal collar and things like that. But I ended up luckily getting away with just I ripped off my little nail in the crash, and then I just had like horrific bruising from the seatbelt.
And thank God, like you say, whoever built a ditch, whoever they're doing that ditch
Yeah.
there, definitely saved your life. So after that happens, was you in hospital for long, or did you come straight back out? What?
No, I've come straight back out that evening.
Yeah.
Luckily, that I bruised sternum, which was going to happen with a seatbelt. But obviously, again, like I'm still learning to look at my body with the scarring from the hot water bottle incident, and then I'm now looking at my body again, which is now turning black and blue all over my chest and my stomach. And my depression kind of creeped back up again, because I was thinking, what the fuck have I done in my life to deserve two such horrific accidents in the space of a month? So yeah, things kind of declined mentally for me around those times. But then I started suffering with a bowel condition, but that was an ongoing thing. There was a lot of hospital appointments and admissions, but everything kind of started snowballing worse in regards to my brain condition.
Yeah, and I think we should come on to that now. So when did you know something was really wrong? Like, when did you? I know you say you had brain condition, but like obviously, we all have headaches and stuff like that. But when do you think to
Yeah.
yourself, "Mum, this isn't right"?
Yeah.
I don't feel
So
right. It's definitely different to a normal headache.
it kind of I started getting headaches just like quite regularly. And I was meant to wear glasses when I was watching TV or on like a computer. And obviously my job most of the time was being on a computer.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought nothing of it. And then I woke up one morning and went into work and I tried reading my emails and my vision had completely doubled. And I was like, no, that's not right. Like, and I started thinking, right, I probably just need to get my glasses like redone. I haven't worn them properly. My eyes are probably just deteriorating. So I booked in for an optician's appointment, and they basically checked the back of my eyes and they had noticed that my optic discs were swollen. They obviously didn't mention any of this during the examination, but at the end of they'd done it, they pretty much handed me a letter and was like, you need to be seen in hospital within a week. And I was like, why do I need to go? What do you mean within a week? And they was like, your optic discs are swollen, and that indicates that there's high pressure in your head, which is alarming. It's not normal, basically. So I was like, right, okay. And they was like, if you've had any symptoms of anything, like just make sure you jot them down and try and remember where it was from. So I was like, okay. Went to the hospital, told them like what my symptoms were, and I had loads of tests done, and they was like, right, it sounds like you have this condition and it's called idiopathic intracranial hypertension.
Wow.
But we can't diagnose you till we do a lumbar puncture.
Right.
So I was like, what the fuck's a lumbar puncture? Basically, they put a needle about this big in between your spine, the base of your back. It's where they would put an epidural, basically, and they go between your spinal cords and discs, and they drain fluid off, and they put like a little pipe in your back, and they see how much fluid comes out, and that indicates if you've got high pressure or not. So I had a lumbar puncture done. It was the most horrific thing for my life. But my pressure was really high, and they was like, right, we're diagnosing you with this condition. So they gave me some medication, which they give to people that go and climb mountains.
Okay.
Because of like your pressure changes, obviously, when you climb mountains and things, but the medication just didn't help. And I just got more and more poorly. And then I ended up having more and more lumbar punctures. It got to the point where I had like 5 lumbar punctures in the space of like a week and a half. And then I was rushed in to my neurologist because I was where I was living in Pulborough at the time. I was under St Richard's Hospital, and I was going through like COVID was rife at this time, so they weren't doing face-to-face appointments. So they was just kind of not doing anything about it. But at this point, we'd moved back to Brighton. So I was seen by a new neurologist because I was still so bad. And at this point, I was on 600 millilitres of Oromorph a week.
Bloody hell.
Over 360 codeine tablets a week at 30 milligrams.
What?
Pregabalin, amitriptyline. I was on so much medication. I was just a walking zombie.
I was about to say, God, but going to a rave for like 24 hours a day.
Yeah. So I was seen by a neurologist, and she was doing all these tests, and I started losing. It got to the point where I started losing my peripheral vision.
Oh my God.
So I was genuinely losing my eyesight. And did you know every person has a blind spot in their eyes?
I didn't know that, no.
Literally every person has a blind spot in their eye. And mine was getting bigger. So the pressure was basically, my condition is known as showing signs of having a tumour, but without no tumour. So my body is submerging my head with this fluid to try and push out something that doesn't exist. So she was like, right, this is getting like alarmingly dangerous. Like, you need to have emergency surgery. You have to have a shunt fitted. And they was like, we're going to shave the back of your head. We can't guarantee how far forward or how much we're going to shave, but there's going to be a lot shaved. And it's got to happen. At this point, I was knocking 24 stone nearly. I was massive. I was bedbound. was unable to hold down my job properly because I was obviously on so much medication. I was so unwell. I was losing my vision. I was just an absolute state.
What period of time was this over? Like sort of weeks, months, or
So medication got more increased leading up to my diagnosis with my brain because of my bowel condition. So I was on the codeine and stuff leading up to that, but the Oromorph and everything else heavier come on after that. 2 years with my head that
wow.
I really like suffered from. But so I was rushed into hospital. This was during COVID as well, so I wasn't allowed any visitors or anything like that taken in, and they basically drilled a hole through my skull, and they've put something called a shunt, which I've sent x-rays over to you.
Yeah, and guys, this is look at this on the screen now. If you're watching the video, it's hard to see it, and then you can now relate to a bit of what the dean's basically saying. Like, you know, can you imagine that having done to your head? And again, go back to seeing you now, like bloody hell, like how have you gone from that to that? So just for you guys to see that is, yeah, you can kind of relate to what you've been through. It's absolutely.
So they obviously put the shunt into my head, which is like in the center of my brain. And then they basically feed the tube all the way through my body into my stomach. So I pass the fluid naturally. So I don't have to keep having lumbar punctures, which it's helped, but it didn't have as much as an impact on the symptoms that I was having as they had liked. So I was still really suffering. I've had to have lumbar punctures since having the shunt fitted, because the shunt's not been able to shift the fluid as much.
Yeah.
So again, like that was just playing with my mental health, because I was like, for crying out loud, I've gone through brain surgery and I'm still suffering. Like, how much more can I do to try and make my situation better? And my neurologist was like, right, the next thing is drastic weight loss can potentially cure or release the pressure more.
Yeah, but you mentioned that you got, before you started weight loss. How did your weight suddenly just go crazy then? Because obviously
I was just bedridden. I just didn't do it. I couldn't. I was so unwell. I could barely see anything. So I was pretty much bedridden for about solidly 6 months.
Right.
I was I never went anywhere. I never done anything. I was just in bed. And obviously medication that I was on didn't help. When I ate shit, because it was just a comfort, because I was so depressed because I didn't have a life anymore. So the weight just got more and more and more. And then I found myself at the point where I was fucking enormous. Like, I could barely walk 5 steps without having to stop, because I was so severely out of breath and in pain because of the pressure that I was putting my body through.
Like, how did you deal with like your mental health of that? I know that taking those medications is probably helping you a bit, but you must be like that all the time. How like low were you? Like, you know, you think about 100 being
low,
like 100 being the worst you could be low wise. Like,
I was at the bottom. I was honestly at the bottom. It really, I was so fucking done, because like there's things that I haven't even, like, I've suffered with miscarriages during that period. I'd suffered with so much more than what even we're just talking about.
Wow.
So there was so much more to everything, because if I sat here and told you my genuinely full life story, would be here for 7 days easily. But yeah, it's like I kind of had to sit there. And so this is when we started getting my girls. So obviously I was at home a lot and on my own. And we ended up getting my little lights of my life, Storm and Star. So Stormy's my big black and white girl. She's our eldest. And then Star, the one that loves showing herself on my life. They're going to come now
because I've heard their names before you come running towards you.
This is the first time, but honestly, if I'm live, everyone knows Star, because she's in your face continuously.
That's mad, though, to think that as well, though, Nadine. Like, you've got all that stuff, and then, like you say, there's obviously stuff that you can't mention on here. I understand, but stuff that you've mentioned so far, God, that's like more than enough, like to it's just still like crazy. And then you go through that. And what was the sort of like the turning point? What was the day when you went, something's got to give here? Because like we all know what happens if you carry on getting bigger. You wouldn't be telling the story now. That's the reality, right? Everyone knows what happens if you keep doing the same thing, you get the same result. Like, so what was the day it all changed?
When they approved my weight loss surgery.
Right.
Like, I could not believe, like, they had mentioned that I might have been eligible for it, but I knew, because it was through COVID still, so I knew, like, people that have been waiting years for the surgery, like, surely they come as a priority over me. That's just kind of come, like, they spoke to me for about a year and a half in regards about weight loss surgery, but I knew how shocking everything had been because of the stress. I'm not no fault of their own, but with the NHS, because of the stress of everything, I was like, yeah, this ain't going to happen anytime soon. But then I went and had an appointment, and I was like, look, this is just your next shot to potentially relieve you from this brain condition. So I was like, right, okay. I was like, if I'm given this fucking one chance to change my life, like, people pay thousands to get this surgery done. And I was so fucking blessed and lucky enough to have been able to have had it on the NHS because of my condition and my situation.
I think you deserved a little bit of luck, by the way. I think you deserved it.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like, because I looked at the situation and I was thinking, do you know what? I've got to grab this with both hands, because one fucking thing I can't stress to you enough, and I have to make this clear for anyone that is thinking about getting weight loss surgery, it isn't a quick fix. It isn't going to fix everything. If you continue to eat shit and not work out and not do stuff, you're going to gain that weight back on. You're going to, you're going to stretch your stomach back out if you keep pushing yourself to eat more. Like, honestly, Scott, I'm telling you, it was one of the most hard. I found having that surgery more difficult than my brain surgery.
Why is that?
The pain, like, with my head, obviously I had the pain button, like, it was fine, I was able to eat, but the pain when I woke up from having my gastric sleeve was, they had to sedate me because I was in so much pain and I was so beside myself. It was just horrible. Like, to eat and drink was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever gone through in my life. It fucking was awful. It was, your taste buds change. It was just the weirdest thing that I'd ever gone through. But it, hands down, it's been one of the best things that I've gone through. At the same time, I'd do it again in a heartbeat, but it's not easy.
It gave you a bit of a platform, or gave you a bit of a kickstart to start.
Like, I've had to sit there and think to myself, like, I've had people come up to me and actually, like, I've got someone that's recently actually booked to go to Turkey to have weight loss surgery because she's seen my achievement from it. I'm not where I want to be. I want to lose another 2-3 stone to hit my target. But no, I'm getting there, and I think that's all that matters. And I want to show people, like, because don't get me wrong, I still have complete fucking mental breakdowns. I still, to this day, because so after I had my weight loss surgery, obviously I was still on a hell of a lot of medication. And I've never experienced seizures. Like, that's never been an issue, even with my brain situation. That was never a concern or anything like that. And about under a year, maybe a little over a year ago, if that, I basically was in my kitchen, and this was after my shunt surgery and my weight loss surgery, and I was downstairs and I was living off sugar-free Ribena rice lollies that I was making, because it was the only thing that I was able to get fluid into me. And the person that I was with at the time was in the garden hanging the washing out, and they see me making the lollies, then they come in the house and all they hear is this grunting noise, and they look down and I'm on the floor, full-blown seizure, eyes in the back of my head, foaming at the mouth, like fucking rigid, shaking.
Do you remember any of this, by the way? Do you remember any of that happening? Like nothing at all?
No, I did not remember. I literally woke up on the floor, and I didn't know what the fuck had happened. I remember being downstairs and doing the lollies, but like that was it. But I'd had a previous incident when I was in hospital just before I had my brain surgery. I was actually on FaceTime to my mum, and I went for a wee while I was on FaceTime to my mum. But next thing I know, I'm on FaceTime and I just drop in the bathroom and the phone drops and my mum's screaming. And I was in a private room at this point, so I wasn't even on a ward.
Yeah.
And my mum's screaming at me. I don't know if I had a seizure. Even to this day, I don't know. My mum doesn't know. Doctors don't know. But my mum rang the hospital and was like, my fucking daughter is in one of your bathrooms, completely out of it. And I don't know, I still to this day don't even know why I ended up collapsing.
Yeah.
But obviously I was taken to the hospital with a seizure that I had at home. I was so lucky I didn't kill myself, because if I hit my shunt hard enough, it would be a horrific outcome.
Yeah.
But I ended up collapsing and denting our dishwasher with my head from that seizure. So they obviously rushed me to the hospital. A week later, I had another seizure. Luckily, I had someone at home with me again. And then 2 weeks later after that, I felt the seizure coming. I lost like all the seizures leading up to that. I never knew it was coming. It just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, and that was it. But this one, I started losing my mobility skills. So I suddenly couldn't start getting up, and I managed to drag myself to the bedroom. And I rang someone and I was like, you need to get home. Something is about to happen. I'm fucking scared. And by the time someone had got to me, it had already happened and it was over.
Right.
But my mouth was bitten to shit, and I obviously had ended up going for another seizure.
Yeah.
But I'm on medication for it now.
Yeah.
Touch wood.
Yeah. And then they've sort of said that with that should help for something like that.
So the seizures, the medication. See, I'm in the process of waiting to have tests done, to have like brain waves and stuff done. I'm waiting to have that to happen. But yeah, so.
But when we look at you though, Nadine, no one would ever think that you, like all the stuff you said so far, who would have thought looking in someone's eyes and going, all this stuff has happened? Because what people do see, which we'll come into a bit, is this person that's like, got starting a career in something and making the best of a situation because of things that you can and can't do now. But by the way, it was the dishwasher okay? By the way, just checking that
no,
that was okay.
I fucked the door. The door's done on the dishwasher. R.I.P. to the door, the dishwasher.
I always make jokes about that. My kids, when they do something, I go. And then, by the way, I always do this when they go into a door, and then they go, "Oh, my head's out." It goes, "Can you just check if the door's okay?" By the way, so that's my little joke
literally.
The kids. But we're glad the dishwasher. Well, I won't be the dishwasher, but they're easy replaceable. But you wouldn't be replaceable. But I'm mad that you've kind of gone through that. And what I want to do now, before we start talking about what you're doing now and what your plans are for the future, looking back at all that craziness. What would be the thing that you've learned most about yourself through that whole thing? Because there's a lot of things have happened, and not be funny. Probably you could ask a million people collectively would not have gone through what you've gone through. So, what have you learned about yourself through that whole time?
I'm definitely a lot stronger than I let on to myself, I think. Sometimes, like when something else does happen in my life, I completely admit I put my hands up, and I'm defeated for that first few minutes. I'm like, no, I'm fucking done. Like seriously, another thing. But yeah, no, I'm definitely a lot stronger than, and I think anyone can be, and I think that's what I want to get across. Like, for crying out loud, people are so much worse off than me. Like, I'm not the worst story that you're ever going to hear. I've had shit luck, but there's always, that's one thing I've always got to remind myself, is there is always someone worse off than you. But not just that, I also want to be someone that people look at and be like, fucking hell, like if she can go through that, surely I can get through this.
Yeah.
I want people to know that they can get through it. Like if you have the right people, like I'm telling you now, Scott, I wouldn't have got half of where I've got without certain people in my life. There's two people in my life that I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't have got through it without them. 100%.
Yeah, wherever they are, basically, a big thank you to. That was going to be kind of my next sort of question about it. But are those two people? But have you been? Is there anybody in your life that's don't mind talking about that have inspired you throughout your?
Like my mum, absolutely. Like my mum's 72 and she has so much fucking energy in her. She walks for fucking miles. She's just my mum's gone. Me and my mum have both got the same bowel condition, and she went through like horrific surgery. I ended up becoming her carer. So this is like even all through the period of the shit that I've gone through. That's not even added with on top of what my mum went through and that I was trying to help her through at the same time. My mum ended up having emergency surgery, ended up having a stoma bag fitted. She then completely refused to deal with it because it was the worst scenario for her. So then I had to take over and care for her. She ended up getting 8 inches of her bowel strangulated through a hernia when she had her stoma bag fitted. So she started vomiting up feces. And then we rushed her into surgery. She ended up in intensive care, having her stoma bag switched round. Then she's gone through the reversal now. But my mum, still to this day, at 72 fucking years old and going through all that and all the shit she went through with them foster kids, and everything else of being a mother and a friend and an auntie and a nanja. She's a nanja. If I say nan, my brothers and sister will kick my ass. She is the best and the strongest person. Oh, it makes me emotional. She's honestly the most amazing person.
That's wicked. No, do you know what though?
Oh my Lord.
And by the way, do you know what? There's nothing wrong being emotional because you know what? Like everything you said, I can tell exactly why your mum's like you're very proud of her because you didn't have a dad around. You've been a mum and a dad. She's done all these other. She's very selfish person, and done all that stuff as well. Having to deal with your stresses with you, I guess as well. Like she's got that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, like all that stuff as well, and she's got other kids as well and stuff, and all their ups and downs and stuff. Like yeah, bloody hell. So that your mum
she's amazing. Like if my mum's gone through fucking domestic abuse, so like a whole life, and I sit there and I think if my mum can still at 72 years old get out of fucking bed and carry on, like I can.
Yeah, well done to your mum, by the way, and give
another big shout.
No, do you know what though? By the way, I think that's what makes podcasts real. This is like an episode of Netflix. This is real. This is your life, right? So, and I've asked you a question about who's helped you, inspired you. To say your mum and get upset, but I think that's quite real. Like it just shows you, I feel like I want to meet your mum myself now. Like, because she sounds like an amazing
she is
lady,
an amazing
by the way.
Person.
Maybe I do the podcast with her next.
Josh, she'd chew your ear off, Scott. You think I could talk for England? Yeah. Fuck me.
Oh God, maybe not. I'm sorry, mum. Maybe we have to put that one about burners because obviously, as you know, I can talk as well. I'm being very good. I've got a sign in front of me saying, Scott, do not talk as much as you should be. So obviously, like again, going back through your life, if you could go back and talk to your that 16 or 18-year-old self, go back and see her and say something to her. What would you tell her now, like before she's about to start this journey? Or by the way, she probably wouldn't think was going to happen. The craziness was about to go on. Before she's about to go through it all, what would you tell her? What advice would you give to her?
God, that it will be okay.
Yeah.
And that the people that you need will be there. Fucking hell, Scott, you're ripping it out of me. Sorry. Yeah, literally, I've got the people that I need. It will be, it would just be okay. Like that's the only thing that I would tell my younger self.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, as you say, your story so far is absolutely amazing. And so just so we move on a little bit, and to what you're doing now, because the 10 stone thing, you've lost in this 12 months or so, is absolutely incredible. And when I'm listening to you talk about this in snippets on when you're doing lives, I don't think people really understand that, and that's why when we do the podcast, we'll give people like that you can do it, right? So like other than sort of like losing, like getting that sort of support, like what have you done on top of that to like lose the weight, start to get healthy? Like what have been the main changes that you've had to make, and what are you doing now every single day to ensure that you continue that full-time
But just
job?
making sure that I'm like moving around and doing stuff, like just not being around in bed. So it's obviously difficult, even more so now because I work from home and I work from literally sat here doing what I do for work. So it's just about like getting out and just making better choices. Like I still have a few fizzy drinks here and there. Like that's the amount of shit that I get on fucking TikTok live. Like I'm sat there talking about my weight loss like progression and I'm sat there having a fizzy drink. Well, guess what, bitch? I'm not gonna sit here and not enjoy the odd bit of food or drink that I enjoy now and again. Like it's just about things in moderation. That's the difference. Before I would go for about 20 cans of drink a day. And that's not including I'd have like fucking strawberry yazoo through the whole evening. And that's not including the shit that I would eat in the day. So it's just about making those better choices and doing better for yourself. I still have that fat girl brain. They don't remove those brains when you have your weight loss surgery. So you do have to know, like, because I've seen people, like I've seen stories where girls have been or blokes have been given these opportunities, have been having these surgeries and they've not used the tools correctly. Like I think people think, weight loss surgery, it's just going to drop from me. It ain't. It isn't going to drop from you. It doesn't work like that.
By the way, being quite big myself recently, I put on back quite a bit of weight within the last year. I considered doing it, and I thought, oh yeah, that'd be easy. Like I could just get back into it. It won't be that hard. And somebody told me about the surgery, about what happens afterwards. And I'll be honest with you, I can't do it because I can't stop the things that I'm doing now. I'm not saying that they're really, really bad, but like I drink and I fizzy stuff a lot. I don't drink a lot of Diet Coke. I find that's my bit of a substitute for drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
I do the food that I like to eat. I couldn't enough, and the things that I got told and explained about what you won't be able to do going forward. Honestly, that would that probably make me more unhappy than make me happy. So that's what I'm saying. So actually, I think it's really important what you just said there. Is it isn't the quick fix? Is actually it comes with.
It's classed as a tool. It's not a quick fix. It is definitely an aid to help you with losing the weight.
Yeah, exactly.
People, if you sit there, like the minute you're full, so when you first have your surgery, you have a 20-20 rule. So it should take you 20 bites before, so 20 chews in your mouth before you're allowed to swallow it. And a meal should take you 20 minutes. And it's just, like, honestly, I can eat. I probably couldn't even finish a kid's portion meal, even still. But people push themselves, and like a normal person, even without the surgery, if you train yourself and keep pushing past that filling stage, your stomach's going to get bigger and you're going to be able to start eating more. Exactly the same happens. I've had 80% of my stomach removed, but if I kept pushing myself daily to a little bit more being fuller each day, you stretch your stomach back out.
Exactly.
So you need to make sure that you're willing to put the graft in. I'm not going to lie, Scott. I wouldn't be in this situation now if I hadn't had my weight loss surgery. I had no mental ability to do it alone. I really want to make that clear to people because I would not be here 10 stone down without the surgery. I had no mental. I knew I was fucking huge, but I didn't do anything about it. And I probably still wouldn't have done anything about it. And I know that must be really hard for people to understand and take in. But unless you're one of those people that are bigger, that enjoys these things, that doesn't have them. I know people now to this day that are big and they want to lose weight more than anything, but they can't, they just don't have it in them. And I'm not going to be one of them people that sit here and judge and say that's a fucking pathetic reason, because I was that person.
Yeah, again, I keep going. I relate to it. Obviously, I put 10 stone on, but I put weight on, and I sometimes find it when you get older as well. It's harder to lose weight, and you've got to have that motivation. And by the way, like you can look at loads of things in life that when you do something, like if it's like I don't know, even like maybe counselling, or you need something to give you that motivation to start doing something
Yeah.
again. So if it's having that surgery or having counselling, or whatever it might be, you're doing that because you've got to that point where you can't do it yourself. So, by the way, like don't look at it as a negative thing, and always look at it as a positive thing because there's a good story starting to develop now. I'm going to come on to that bit now. So,
And not just that, can I say as well,
sure.
for anyone that is watching, if you are bigger and you're happy being bigger, fuck everyone else.
Exactly.
Like, if you are happy in your body, like, go fucking you. I will be stood here with a fucking banner supporting you. If you are happy in your body, fuck what everyone else's statistics is like. Oh, you've got to be a size 0, you've got to have a fat bunda and fucking massive tits and a tiny waist. Now, fuck off. Be who you want to be, and what you want to be is what's most important.
Exactly, you got to love yourself first.
Yes.
So talking about what you've done now, so you've gone through a real transition, right? And you've now, and I think everyone that's listening or watching, sorry, could say you look absolutely amazing. And
Thank
I know,
you.
like we've talked about before, that he still goes, yeah, but there's still things I want to do, and I think everyone has that. And like what you're doing now, I feel like it is probably like a full-time job, trying to keep going, to keep tweaking how you want to look or move his way. I think it's a full-time job. I think everyone wants to do things, but you look amazing now.
Thank
And
you.
when did you? Okay, maybe we'll get into start again. You do look amazing now, by the way. Obviously, I want to talk a bit about what you're doing now. So the word that I used in the introduction was adult content creator, which obviously people were probably thinking, okay, what does that actually mean? So when did that all sort of start? What was the motivation to start doing it?
Obviously, through everything with my brain surgery and being really poorly, I just couldn't work. I physically couldn't work because of my condition. Like, if I'm telling you now, if I end up having a migraine, you ain't getting me out of bed for shit. There's just no way it can happen. So it just got to the point where I was unable to work, and it was tough. Like, it was so tough to go from a fucking manager of a dementia home to not being able to hold a job down. It was soul destroying for me. Like, 'cause I was so proud of myself getting somewhere where I got. And obviously at this point I'd lost a little bit of weight. I hadn't lost half as much weight. And the person that I was with was like, why don't you just try OnlyFans? Like, what have you got to lose? And I was like, really? Like, yeah, like, just give it a go. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? You ain't got to go in hard and do all this type of stuff. Just give it a go. So I done OnlyFans. Like, I started with that, but I kind of took off more through webcamming. So webcamming and OnlyFans is a little over a year, but I've done a lot more into my OnlyFans. And like content creating, I'd say in the last 4 or 5 months.
And what was the thing that you're most proud of so far?
Like, getting my confidence back. I say I'm getting my confidence back. Like, this is, you see Scott on my lives, and I think anyone that ever comes into my lives, there's not a day that goes by where I don't get a troll.
Yeah.
Not one day.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, it will be about my appearance. There's no doubt that it will be anything but my appearance. And it's, I sit there and I think, okay, I do webcamming, I do OnlyFans. Half of my content is me half naked.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep it real. But yeah, I do upload all this content, but you have no idea how many pictures or videos I've had to take before I've looked at it and gone, I'll post that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing that, like, people assume that us lot that do what we do in our jobs must love ourselves, think, yeah, we're a fucking 10-10. Hell no. That is far from the truth. One good picture would take about 200 pictures to get one good picture.
Right. Okay.
So that's what we have to go through.
And is it you that decides what you do? So everything that you do is all, you're kind of like your own entrepreneur of your own.
Oh yeah, so it's all run through myself. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just talk about the troll side of stuff, because obviously, like I say, I didn't even know what a troll was. I heard the word lots of times. I've only been on TikTok as about 5, 6, 7 weeks, and yeah, like the idea of going on there was to do research on another podcast. But what I found is I found it a little bit addictive at times, but created opportunities, i.e., now, and also and then obviously, yeah, I came across your live one day, and again, I don't know, out of all the ones you've ever had, I found it really disturbing, and my natural kind of reaction was to like, I could
What the
see
fuck?
what the fuck's going on, and like I could say it on this podcast what was said, because I'm actually repeat it back on TikTok you can't, because you get banned. But someone was talking about hanging herself, go to hang yourself, or and I thought to myself,
Telling me to hang myself and my children.
yeah,
Children I don't have,
yeah,
but basically telling me to go and hang myself and hang my children.
yeah. And I was like, I was like, what? And I kept messaging, going like, I
What
don't
the
know
fuck's going
what's going
on?
on. And then, but then, and then, because I guess because you're more experienced, you experienced this. So I was like, just mute this idiot like that. And then you sort of, like you carry, and I could see in your eyes thinking, no, 1 second, this has gone past the, I know how to back these people away, and that's how I just said like, and you went, do you want me to help you with this, or sort of thing, like, come, I didn't know what a mod was at the time. You went,
The
yeah,
thing is, I've got
yeah,
mods,
but they
but
weren't on there,
obviously
was
I
they? They
don't
weren't there that
expect
day.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't expect people to be at my beck and call. If I'm live, if someone's about, cool, I
yeah.
appreciate you coming in and helping. But it was the worst thing with that incident, Scott, when you come in, was I blocked him, and within a split second, he had been
That's
come
right.
back on another account.
That was
It was a
crazy. I saw that. It was like, what, number one, number two. He must have done about 15 accounts.
It was
And
in about 15 minutes as
yeah.
well, wasn't it?
And
He just
is that something like, obviously I know that day was mad, and I think maybe I found it being the worst day, but
one
so
of them.
how do you deal with that? What impact does that have while you're on a live, and how does that impact you after you've finished? And then you kind of go home mentally, even though you're in your home, you close it down,
Yeah.
and then you go back to your normal life,
So
right? So what happens then?
it's like when I first, because I've lost a few accounts on TikTok, I'm not gonna lie, like I've had a few accounts banned. So I've dealt with the whole like hate side of it. But I think after my first few lives and I had some hate, it fucking destroyed me. Like
Yeah,
someone had made me cry while I was live when I first started out. And then I was like, nah, fuck this. I'm not letting them think that they've got to me. But with that hanging one, it was like, it was go hang yourself. It was go hang yourself, go hang yourself. And then they started then aiming it because they knew it wasn't getting a rise out of me. That's when they thought, fuck it. If she's got kids, let's use the kids.
yeah, yeah,
And that's where I was like, wait a minute, now you're getting fucking twisted. Like, it's getting a bit much now. Because I like Scott, love him, Steph. He mods for me sometimes. If I'm on and I haven't got a mod available and Scott sees my live and he sees a hater, bless him, he'll jump on and he'll try and mod and get rid of people.
yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, no, fucking leave him.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. I'm
if
like,
he wants to come at me about my appearance, let me
yeah.
have a look at the little bastard myself. Let me wait a minute, you're fucking a middle-aged man with a receding hairline and a beard line that don't even
Me.
connect. Don't come at me about my appearance when
Yeah,
you're no 10 yourself. But no, I'm trying to be the better person now. Like today, even I jumped on live before I come on to do a get ready with me. And I'm now even not even trying to acknowledge them. If they like, I get a lot of Stifler's mum and stupid, shitty things like that. That doesn't bother me. But there was an incident recently, which obviously you're aware about, where I went live with someone that's quite well known.
yeah,
Which again, I've gone live with quite well known people before and had all right experiences, but this person was just a fucking moron. And then someone decided to screen record it, and I had no idea that the screen recording had happened. So I'm live. This bloke had been and come on my live, started thinking he was funny. I pulled him up on it and told him he was being immature about it. And then everyone's like, I've just seen the video of you and him, like he completely annihilated you. And I'm like, what are you fucking on about? There's no video. And then this video had gone viral. And then I had thousands and thousands of people who would pay to see her like get naked. Like, look at the fucking state of it.
Yeah.
Like, spent all this time getting ready just to be fucking annihilated. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, it was a bit of a shock to the system, I'm not gonna lie, but I definitely got a gain from it. So
Just to remind me asking about the gain, how the gain works from something like that, where you've kind of got, you try to look at the pros, look at the things that you got absolutely trolled, you got all this horrible stuff, and then that's the downside of it. But what would be the uptake or the good part of it, if you don't mind me asking?
So do you know what was I'm a part of a group on WhatsApp, a group of unbelievable sex workers out there. It's like a group, it's all of us that do OnlyFans, do like in the same industry basically. And because I just have people rinsing me for what I do, I kind of reached out to them and I was like, I can't fucking believe what's just happened. Like, I'm gobsmacked that people still treat people like us the way that they do because of what we do. And every single one of them was like, just abuse the power, abuse it. Like, they're mugging you off. You will get a gain from it. Like, just think positive, get a gain from it. I woke up to over 350 new fans on my account. So obviously I'd gone viral, but I hadn't even had my name tagged. So people have either seen me before or been able to find me one way or another. So that I got a I had a fucking shitty evening because of what had happened, and I'd read all these comments, but I woke up the next morning fucking a hell of a lot better off.
Yeah.
So that was the bonus on that behalf. But yeah.
Where do you see, and maybe you don't want to go into loads of detail, but like now looking forward, like looking for the next sort of 12 to 2 to 5 years, what's the sort of like the goal now, ambition, what you want to do? How's it going to evolve and get bigger or better? Where do you sort of see yourself?
Do you know what? Everyone, don't tell me there's no one out there that wants to be fucking rich. I don't want to be rich. I just want to, I want to be comfortable. I want my mum to be financially stable off me. Like, that's probably one of my biggest things, is I want my mum to not have to worry about money. I want to be able, if my mum wants something, I want to be able to just fucking buy it for her. I want to be able to be comfortable. Like, I live in a beautiful house. I'm so lucky for where we've got an amazing landlord, but I'd love to be able to just own my own house. That would be a bonus to me. And I want to be a mum. I do. Yeah. I want to have kids. I'm 34. I'm getting old. Older. I do. I'm getting to that stage in my life where that's going to hopefully be in the next part.
Yeah, and obviously, like, again, being an OnlyFans, it's obviously hard to meet the right person as well, which hopefully that will come and have nice family and stuff. And
there might be someone about this. I try and keep, this is one thing that's really that I want people to know as well. So with my platforms, I'm active on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Like, that's all about me. Like, I don't like speaking about like my personal life. Like, on here we've spoken about it, like I'm absolutely fine with it, but like I don't like speaking about if I'm with anyone on TikTok and stuff like that. Like, I'm not here to date people.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why, like, I'm very straight away, it's like no personal questions. Like, you can get to know me, but I'm not here to find a man.
So social media is obviously is a big part of everybody's career, personally and from a business point of view. We know that using it on TikTok. How important is social media, going forward in the next sort of year to two, to make your business even bigger than it already is now?
Do you know what? For me, TikTok is a huge one. Get so much from TikTok in regards to like new people joining. I use Twitter, but Twitter's, I don't really gain much in regards to business wise through Twitter. But for me, like, I don't go live on Instagram because my account's private, but it's the fact with TikTok, you can have no connections with anyone, and you can just search through lives and you can pop up to anyone in any part of the world.
Yeah.
And I think for that reason, like, alone is huge. Like, my TikTok, honestly, I couldn't live without TikTok for my business side of it, because I gained so much from TikTok for my business. That's what's the kind of the main one for me. Obviously, my Instagram is a good one for people to kind of follow my life along. But TikTok's the one for me, is in regards to getting discovered by people that's never maybe heard of me. On TikTok at the moment, like I've said, I've obviously started the agency recently. I'd probably say TikTok wise, I'm live minimum 4 hours a day, minimum.
Yeah.
But then obviously during that time, if I do more, I probably do a lot more, but then I'll pop off during the day to film content or do content, and go through there. I'm gonna be there's other places that I'm looking about going to shoot some more content with and at the moment, but everything that I do is from this very room.
Last couple of questions. What are you looking forward to in the future, personally and professionally?
Just progression, really. I'm meeting a lot of unbelievable people. Like, I've met so many amazing people through TikTok. I've got, like, shout outs. I've got people that from when I started, right at the start from my journey, when I just had my weight loss surgery, I've got people that still to this day come on my lives every day just to see how I'm doing. Honestly, I've just made amazing friends from this. And I'm not here to make, with what I do, I am here, it's my job, I'm here to make money. But I've made some amazing friends, like, along the way, like such yourself. I don't think people understand, like, how amazing it is for people to, like, come across my lives, and for every day for them to still pull up with whatever they're doing, just to come on and see how I'm doing. Like, it's so amazing. TikTok is such an amazing place, but in the next hand, it is the most toxic app I've ever been a part of. And that's what's so hard about that app, is you can sit there and you could fucking get the buzz and be like, right, I'm going to go on and speak to my community today. But then one thing can go wrong and it will fucking tumbleweed so badly. And I've been bombarded by probably about 500 people before of just sheer abuse, because I've said something to someone because they've took the piss out of me and I've held myself. So that's the only thing is like, if people are wanting to get into doing more content creation or adult content, creation, just be aware that it's not all roses. It's not all, like, money doesn't come quick either as well. That's another thing I want to make really clear. People think that jumping into webcamming or OF is going to be a quick money maker. Like, it ain't. It's graft. Like, I work more hours and harder than I did when I worked a full-time job. I'm on my phone.
It's so good to say this, because people just assume, oh, you've got it so easy because you
sat at home on your ass all day.
It isn't.
I get bullied for a living, literally get bullied for a living. And people just assume that money's made easy. Like, you have to advertise all the time. People are paying a monthly subscription for this is another thing, right, that I really want to make clear. My socials are all manned by me, because there's a hell of a lot of agencies out there that are taking over people's OnlyFans, and you ain't talking to the person you're subbing to. That's a tough one. When you sub to me, you get my interaction. Like I have, and this is another thing, I have to be available to every individual that has subbed and paid me for a month. If they message me, I have to make sure I'm messaging back. Because if I don't, then they're going to unsubscribe, and that's me losing money.
Wow.
So this is what I mean. Like I've got to entertain these people continuously. That's just on OnlyFans. That's not including, because I do all from my Instagram, from TikTok, I do custom content all through there. So, and then I'm trying to file through people that are wasting my time, just trying to chat and not actually do anything. So it's not easy. People think doing what we do is easy.
From a personal point of view, in the next 12 months, is there anything that you want to achieve? I know you mentioned about a bit more weight loss and stuff, and
just progression. I just want to do better. Like, I don't want to set myself a stupid, unrealistic goal, because I think that's when you set yourself up to fail, and that's when you feel like you've become a failure. I think to myself, if I'm just going the pace that I'm going, and I'm like every day at present, touch wood again, I'm progressing every day at the moment. Every day I'm waking up and going to bed with more people on my subs. And that's all I can ask for. Even on TikTok, I'm getting people now. You can become a subscription to me on TikTok. Like, gaining all these people, I'm happy with that. Like, obviously I'd be happy to become a millionaire. I think anyone would. But being able to progress, show people that you can go through fucking living hell and still carry on and try and better yourself daily. Like, that's all I want to do. I'm one of them people, everyone is welcome in my lives. Like, Scott, I'm a good vibe type of person. I'll be a big sister. I'll be whatever you want me to be.
You are good like that. No, you are. That you should remember every conversation or every comment they made.
It's you don't want people to think that you're not remembering them either, because if they've been on my live for 3 hours with me and then 2 days down the line, I'm like, oh, where are you from? I'm not. This is another thing. With my brain condition, I am literally Dory from Finding Nemo. Like, my memory was horrific before my brain condition. Like, it's even worse now. But it's not me not remembering who you are. It is just generally, I've just got shit memory. But like, if someone really goes out their way and tries to do you know what I mean, you will always, like, it won't go unnoticed. Like, I've always been like that with people.
No, you are very good about that. So last question,
and
I ask these questions to every single person of the podcast with. How do you want to be remembered?
For being strong and for caring. Just like going above and beyond for people. Like, you haven't got to be my best friend for me to want to look out for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that I do, like, behind closed doors. I'm like, that I would always help someone. Like, if someone comes to me with a problem, and if I can potentially resolve it, even if you're not my fucking best friend or close friend, I'm there. Do you know what I mean? I want people to know that I am approachable. Like, if you want help, or if you just think, fucking hell, I'm having a shit day today, like, you can talk to me. I'm not one of them people that are just going to ignore your messages. Like, I want to be remembered as a nice person. Like, I am strong and I pushed on.
I think that's a great answer. So just to let you know, that was my last question, and I want to say, I've really, 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 really enjoyed this podcast. I think you've been so open book here, and
Thanks, Scott.
and being transparent. And I know it's not been easy, and apologise if I made you a bit upset, by the way. But I feel
like it's all right.
But that, by the way, shows that you're just a normal girl. You're a normal girl from Brighton, and basically has gone through so much stuff, and you've really shared a lot of these things. So thank you so much.
That's all right.
So just again, just before we finish, obviously I will be putting links onto the last part of the page of all of your links to your social media. But if you just want to just maybe finish off by saying where people can kind of go.
Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on Instagram. If you want, obviously, adult content, you can get that from my OF. But there is also another app that I use called Coco, which is an adult version of TikTok. So I will give Scott the information of what to search up in your app store and my username on that.
Lastly, can everybody Please subscribe, like, share, the usual stuff. I do want to say before we finish is that I do look at every comment, every feedback you've given, and I just want to say, I want to thank everybody for continuing to watch my podcast. There are some brilliant ones still coming, and what I love about this, everyone I do always seems to get better. So thank you very much,
Thanks,
Nadine,
Scott.
and good luck in the future. And please try and keep out of bad luck. Just keep going in the right direction.
I'll try. I'll try.
We should do. But thank you so much.
No,
and
thanks, Scott.
speak to you soon.
The What, Why Now podcast.